It was an up and down weekend for the Boston Bruins as a whole and for one prospect in particular.
You're Locked On Bruins, your daily podcast on the Boston Bruins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Bruins fans, and welcome back to the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast. I'm your host, Ian McLaren, and this is a daily show where we discuss all things Spoked B. Today is Monday, December 30th, and I want to thank you so much for making Locked On Bruins part of your daily routine. Free and available on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And on today's episode, we are going to discuss the weekend home series against the Columbus Blue Jackets, a very up and down couple of games, and take a look at the week ahead, beginning with a game on New Year's Eve against the Washington Capitals. We'll also discuss the recall and subsequent sending back to Providence of prospect Fabian Lysell. Quick reminder before all that, you can find the podcast on social media at Locked NHL Bruins. You can find me, my hockey thoughts, dad jokes at Ian C. McLaren, where you can find my review of Mufasa, which I went and saw with the boys yesterday. Pretty enjoyable, all things considered. I thought it was better than I expected, but I still can't get over the fact that Scar's original name is Tucker. What? Very odd. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. What is here and there is the Bruins splitting a weekend home series with the Columbus Blue Jackets. And one of the big storylines for me was you come out, you get absolutely rocked in the first game coming out of the holiday break, 6-2 to the Columbus Blue Jackets, a team that is below you in the standings. Just a completely uninspired performance from the Bruins on Friday night, where Eugene Korpisalo, playing against his old team, couldn't make enough saves. The Bruins could not muster enough offense. They looked slow. They looked just not great. And the Bruins have had a penchant for losing games big this season. We recall a 5-1 loss to Columbus earlier this season that resulted in a firing of head coach Jim Montgomery. They were outshot. They could not kill a penalty to save their lives. The Blue Jackets went 3 for 3 on the power play. The Bruins went 0 for 2. And it just was not a game that you looked at and thought, yeah, this team has a chance to do something in the unofficial second half of the regular season. They respond to that by scratching Oliver Wahlstrom, who's yet to record a point as a Boston Bruin, and recalling Fabian Lysell, which everybody gets excited about because the young 2021 first-round pick gets an opportunity here to make his NHL debut one day later on home ice and really infuse some speed into the lineup that's been lacking, especially with the departure of Jake DeBrusk. You look at the third line of Wahlstrom, Trent Frederick, Justin Brazeau that has been created with the promotion of Charlie Coyle to the top 6. And you think, yeah, this team could benefit from a speedster like Lysell on that third line. And lo and behold, he comes out on his first shift. It looks like he gets his first NHL point. He was aggressive on the forecheck, getting behind the net, worked the puck out in front of the net. It ended up being a goal scored by Justin Brazeau. Lysell was not credited with an assist on the play, but he was instrumental in creating that opportunity. And he's playing in front of his family. He was a +1, 11 minutes and 32 seconds of ice time. Joe Sacco said he thought he handled himself well. an exciting night for him, his family. He was on the ice for the first goal, which is always a good feeling. He did some good things. He was trying to be very responsible away from the puck. Those are all things that you want to see from a young guy in his NHL debut. And then on Sunday, he's sent back to Providence. Here on Monday morning, he's practicing with the Providence Bruins. Now, it could be a situation where it's a paper transaction, meaning he's sent down for a day to save money against the cap. But why call him up just for one game? He makes some nice plays. He didn't get a shot on goal, but he did what was asked of him. And then they send him back when they're desperately in need of that speed. He's on the ice. He's on the ice in Providence. Doesn't look like he will be back in the lineup on Tuesday. His family was considering sticking around to see if he'd get at least one more game in. He has improved his game in Providence. He played well. I don't really understand just calling him up for one game when you desperately need that speed in the lineup, and he fared pretty well. But that's kind of where we're at right now with Don Sweeney and co. They're giving some guys some auditions. Mark McLaughlin is up in the lineup once again. He, I believe, has hit the mark where he can no longer be sent back without putting him through waivers after having played now 10 games this season. So that's a choice to keep McLaughlin up. He has played, fairly well for the Boston Bruins on that fourth line role. He's now at 10 games, 2 goals. But it looks as though they might go back to the line of Brazeau, Frederick, Wahlstrom as the third unit for the game on Tuesday against the Washington Capitals. For me, that line is just too slow, and you're not getting enough from the bottom 6 at the moment. Morgan Geekie playing very well with Pavel Zacha, David Pastrnak, to his credit. He has really reinvigorated his game. He scored on Saturday. He got another assist for 2 points in that one. The line of Charlie Coyle, Brad Marchand, and Elias Lindholm is rolling, but beyond that, you're really struggling to find some secondary scoring. Morgan Geekie with 4 points over his last 4 games, which is great to see. But Trent Frederick not doing much of anything as of late. I believe he's pointless in his last 9 games. Lysell comes up, immediately makes an impact. Frederick not looking like a guy who's going to be around at least beyond this season based on the way he's playing here in his contract year. He's only got 5 goals, 6 assists for 11 points, and has gone quite a long time here without recording a point since December 7th when he had 2 goals against the Philadelphia Flyers. So for me, you had encouraging signs in that 4-0 shutout over Columbus on Saturday. Lysell at least deserved to get another look here coming up tomorrow against the Washington Capitals. So the big storyline over the weekend, 6-2 loss to Columbus. They made a positive decision, bring Lysell up, and that really helped set the tempo for this team and bring an infusion of youth speed into the lineup, which they desperately need. And now they sent him back for reasons unknown. And who knows, maybe they'll recall Matt Poitras instead for Tuesday's game. We'll have to see if there's any follow-up moves after sending him back. If we look at the Bruins page on cap wages, which is the new cap-friendly alternative right now, they do have 13 forwards up, 8 defensemen, and 2 goalies. So that's a full roster, 23. So with McLaughlin sticking up, Wahlstrom around, unless somebody gets injured, it doesn't look like anybody will be recalled before tomorrow's game. If someone is, keep it locked to Locked On Boston Bruins on the YouTubes to get all the latest there. Coming up, we'll look at some stats and signals to take away from these games against the Blue Jackets, as well as preview what's coming up this week for the Boston Bruins and on the podcast. Have you ever found yourself paying for subscriptions that you didn't even remember that you had? Well, Rocket Money can help you weed out those subscriptions and get rid of them. Rocket Money makes it so easy to track down these subscriptions, and it's like having a personal assistant for your finances. It's a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions. It monitors your spending, helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Brings everything together in one place, and they have over 5 million users and have helped save a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. And with their new goals feature, you can automatically set aside money for your future. No more stressing about budgeting every month. It's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Thank you so much once again for making Locked On Bruins part of your daily routine, free and available on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And one of the big stats to take away from this weekend's action against the Columbus Blue Jackets was a perfect 18 for 18 showing from Jeremy Swayman on Saturday to earn his second shutout of the season, raising his save percentage to .890 for the season. It's well below his career average of .914, but positive steps in the right direction to be sure. And for the Bruins to succeed here in the back part of the schedule as we head into 2025, they are going to need Jeremy Swayman to be much better than he has been so far this season. And I think from now on, we can't discredit the fact that a full training camp is essential for any player to hit the ground running here coming out to begin the season. Now, over these past two games against the Blue Jackets, David Pastrnak had 11 shots on goal, which is great to see. He had one actual goal to lead the way for the Boston Bruins. Charlie Coyle also scored, as did Pavel Zacha, Justin Brazeau, Morgan Geekie, Cole Koepke. So you're getting some contributions from up and down the lineup, which any team needs to succeed. Zacha with 2 points, as did Morgan Geekie. So again, some contributions from some guys who you need to see that coming from. Now, Brad Marchand did have his point streak ended in the game against Columbus on Saturday, but still playing extremely well for the Boston Bruins as of late. And that's a guy that they continue to rely on heavily, of course. When it comes to ice time, Parker Wotherspoon had been a healthy scratch for several games. He came in for Saturday's game and skated in 21 minutes in that game with, no shots. But he did have an even game for the Boston Bruins, and I'd like to see him back in the lineup a little bit. He has been out in favor of Jordan Oesterle, but I think he's a guy that brings a bit more in terms of puck moving ability and a younger, fresher guy in the lineup for the Boston Bruins. Now, after these two games, of course, they're goal differential didn't change much in this one. They gave up 6 goals. They scored 6 goals. I mentioned the penalty kill going 0 for 3 in the one game. And then they killed off another 3, which puts them back at 50% for these 2 games. Overall, the Bruins remain third in the Atlantic Division, but they're only 2 points up on Tampa, and Tampa has 4 games in hand. I got a question about this on the YouTube channel. It's just a quirk of the schedule, and the Lightning will make up those games at some point, and more than likely they will pass the Bruins for third there, putting the Bruins back down into wild card contention. The Bruins are also only 4 points up on the Senators. The Senators have 2 games in hand on them. When you look at the Eastern Conference in terms of point percentage, the Bruins are currently 7th. Again, Tampa ahead of them. Washington is up there in first, followed by New Jersey, Carolina, and then you have the Maple Leafs, Panthers tied at 622, the Lightning at 618, and then the Bruins down in 7th at 579 with a minus 14 goal differential. 6-3-1 in their past 10 games. Senators are 7-3 in their past 10, and again are climbing up the standings here. The wild card spots officially being held by Tampa and Ottawa, but again, when you look at the point percentage, you can switch Boston and Tampa there because Tampa has a better point percentage. One team to keep an eye on is the Pittsburgh Penguins. They're only 1 point back of Ottawa, but they have played 2 more games. But they're creeping up, and you can never count Sidney Crosby out of things there. So those are some key stats to keep an eye on. Marchand's point streak ending. Swayman with the shutout, which we love to see. Parker Witherspoon getting some big ice time in his return to the lineup. And David Pastrnak scoring a big goal there where you have a guy like Trent Frederick who's gone pointless here in almost a month. And that just cannot continue. He needs to pick it up. Pastrnak still at below a point per game pace. He's only on point pace for 28 goals, 52 assists, which is great, but only 28 goals. And that, again, is a function of his shooting percentage being much lower than usual. 5% lower than his career average, in fact. So if he keeps shooting, the puck's going to go into the net more often than not. I'd love to see him just get a hat trick or a 4-goal game to put him on pace here for more output than usual. His ice time is down this season, 20 seconds fewer than usual, but I don't think that's really enough to make a huge dent here in his goal scoring abilities. So those are some stats and signals to take away. I would have loved to have seen Lysell get at least one more game in here with his family watching as they get ready to take on the Washington Capitals. We'll take a look at what is coming up for the Bruins here this week as the podcast continues. All right, the Bruins have one more game on the schedule here in the 2024 year. On tomorrow's podcast, we are going to take a look back at some of the best and worst moments of 2024 and do a quick preview of this game, which is a 12:30 start. So just be aware of that. You don't want to miss that game tomorrow afternoon, thinking that it's going to happen at night. Following that, the Bruins will finish this week with 2 games on the road. Actually, tomorrow's game is a road game as well. So we got 3 road games total this week, and they're not easy ones. Although you could argue that the Rangers are pretty easy fodder right now. The Bruins will be at Madison Square Garden on Thursday evening to take on the Rangers, and then they will travel to Toronto to take on the Maple Leafs, the division-leading Maple Leafs, on Saturday. It's the first of a back-to-back on the weekend. They will go to New York to take on the Islanders on Sunday. So 4 games ahead for the Bruins between now and next Monday. And then, not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but the week after that is going to be incredibly difficult. They will host Edmonton. Then they will travel to Florida to take on both Tampa Bay and the Panthers. And then they'll come home to take on the Lightning. So that's going to be a pretty mean 4-game stretch there for the Boston Bruins. Again, on tomorrow's podcast, I'll be back with a best and worst of 2024. Maybe take a little look ahead at what 2025 may have in store for the Boston Bruins. Since tomorrow's game is an early one, let's just go ahead and preview the game against the Washington Capitals. The Capitals, like I mentioned, are the top team in the on the Eastern Conference by way of point percentage. Neither team plays today, so they'll be coming in fresh. Alex Ovechkin is back in the lineup. The Gretzky watch is on. I believe he's only 25 goals away from Wayne Gretzky's record. And you can be sure he will be firing away, looking to get that done here this season. It's very likely that that's going to happen if he remains healthy. He was out of the lineup for like 6 weeks with that broken leg. He's back and has already scored a couple in his return. The Bruins have played the Capitals once before already, of course, just last week, beating them 4-1 in arguably their best game of the season so far. So it was discouraging to see them come out and lay that egg against Columbus, but they rebounded, and hopefully they can take care of business against Washington tomorrow afternoon. They're coming off a loss to the Detroit Red Wings, who have a new head coach in Todd McClellan. Charlie Lindgren was abysmal in that game, so I'd expect Logan Thompson to be in net for Washington tomorrow. He's got a record of 14-2-2 with a .916 save percentage. Probably should be representing Canada at the Four Nations face-off coming up next month, or in February, I should say. He is pretty dangerous in net for the Bruins. Joonas Korpisalo is coming off that loss to Columbus on Friday. His save percentage now under .900. The Bruins save percentage as a team is at .887, which is, again, very uncharacteristic of this team and what we're used to with Swayman and Linus Ullmark in the past. Swayman does have a winning record now, 13-10-3, with a .293 goals against average and an .890 save percentage. Hopefully he can build on that game the other night and put in a strong performance. He's going to have to start stealing some games for this team, quite frankly, because they really are struggling to score. 26th in the NHL, 2.66 goals per game. The Capitals are third at 3.67 goals per game. That's a full goal more per game that they are scoring. Goals allowed. Washington's a very strong defensive team, allowing only 2.64 goals per game, which is fifth in the NHL. The Bruins at 3.03, which is 14th. Boston's power play is up to 30th. Huzzah. But their penalty kill is 25th. Washington's power play is 15th ranked. That will improve, of course, with Ovechkin back in the lineup. And their penalty kill is 6th. So special teams could be a factor here for the Bruins. Over their past 5 games, Capitals are led in scoring by Pierre-Luc Dubois, who's got 5 assists, Alexei Protas with 3 goals, and the Capitals are really benefiting from some tremendous depth in their lineup. Dylan Strome leads the way in scoring, but they're followed by Protas and Connor McMichael, each with 30 points. Jacob Chychrun on the blue line with 24 points as well. Ovechkin and Dubois at 27 points. Even Ovechkin's up there despite playing in only 20 games so far this season. For the Bruins, Charlie Coyle's heating up. He's got 3 goals in his past 5 games. Brad Marchand leading the way with 2 goals, 4 assists for 6 points over their past 5 games. And of course, they're coming off that win over the Blue Jackets. So that's a quick preview of tomorrow's game. Again, a 12:30 start. I'll be back looking at the top and bottom moments for the Bruins in 2024. and a look ahead at what we can expect in 2025. Thank you so much for making Locked On Bruins part of your daily routine this year and every day. Please do hit that subscribe button if you have not already. And we'll be back with a fresh episode of Locked On Boston Bruins tomorrow. Please do check out the Locked On Fantasy Hockey podcast next. All the latest tips from Steal and Flip to give you an edge in your league this week. I need to listen because I'm up against the first place team in my league. All right, friends, take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. We'll talk to you again here on the next episode of Locked On Boston Bruins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day.